Shalom uvracha to everyone. I hope everyone had a good week, despite the dreary weather, which continues today on Thursday morning, Erev Shabbat Lekh Lekha. And I know that we're scheduled for some cold weather, so everyone who's coming to shul, please make sure to bundle up and come with a coat, maybe even gloves for our outside tefillah. I want to thank everybody who helped run the tefillah last week and who's running groups and all that. And we want to wish everybody who is feeling ill, anyone who has COVID, tremendous refuah shalema, and others. We want to recognize, of course, John Pasner, who completed sitting Shiva today for his mother, Florence Zichrona Livracha, Florence Pasner. And we wish him and his family much nechama. This week is Parshat Lekh Lekha. Of course, we're introduced to the saga of Abraham and his family, Avraham Avinu, the first patriarch. And of course, Avraham has a very central place in our heart and in our conception. He's the Father Abraham of our entire people. And what's interesting is that the Torah spends a lot of time in terms of discussing the date when Avraham left, how old he was. It tells us Avram ben Chamesh Shanim v'Shivim Shana b'Tzeito Mecharan. Tells us a lot about when he left for Eretz Yisrael, that he was 75 years old. The Torah also notes, when Avraham died. There's a tremendous amount of discussion about Avraham's age. And it's interesting, as many have noted, that there is a range of opinions throughout Chazal about when exactly it is that Abraham had that aha moment, that when Abraham changed and recognized God and had a transformation, a spiritual transformation. There are midrashim that speak of the fact that Abraham was a tiny kid. He was 3 years old when he recognized God. He said, there's the sun and there's the moon, and it must be that there is a God. It must be somebody who created all this. There are midrashim that Abraham recognized God when he was 40. There are midrashim that speak of Abraham recognizing God when he was 50. There are many, many different approaches. The Rambam talks about Abraham as 40 years old when he recognized God. Midrashim talk about him as younger. The text spends a lot of time in terms of his relationship with God, but only starts when he's 75 and onward. And it could be, and this is an idea that I saw cited in the name of Rav Nevin Sal, the chief rabbi of the Old City, in a wonderful little book by Rabbi Shalom Rosner. It could be that there's no real debate, or we can certainly understand that there's not really a debate here. Just to read, the different opinions on Avraham's age do not constitute a dispute about history. The various ages teach us that recognizing God was a step-by-step process for Abraham. It was and is a developing path. That the experience of connecting to HaKadosh Baruch Hu when you're 3, and the experience, the emotional and intellectual experience of connecting to God when you're 20, and the emotional and experiential and intellectual experience of connecting to God when you're 40, through reading, through thinking, through going through different stages of life, for looking back on what's happened to you, is very different. Yes, Abraham was 3 when he discovered God, but he continued to recognize God when he was 40. And through all his years, the recognition became deeper. Abraham underwent a process as the first Jew, and as such, he's the prototype for all future Jews. We constantly work on our belief, our emunah, so that our spirituality continues to grow. And that's, of course, one of the great challenges that we have especially given the demands of time and the demands of our life and our hectic and our anxiety and our and all the fact that we have to raise children and make a living and all the different things that we're buffeted with, that it's important that our understanding of God, our connection to God, our connection to prayer, our connection to Talmud Torah, that they don't remain static, that they don't remain, so to speak, stuck in second gear, as the song says, but rather that we are constantly striving to grow, to hear it again. I mean, one of the challenges of listening to Kriyat Torah again is to see, can we read it anew? Can we look at it from a different angle? Do we only see it in one way? Or does it speak to us in a different way? Just like many parshiot and many midrashim speak to somebody when they're 20 very differently than somebody who's 40 or 60. And looking back at life or looking at different challenges in terms of how they're raising their children or where they are or where they personally are at in life. And the beauty of these midrashim are saying, Abraham had one kind of experience of God when he was 3. He had another experience when he was 17. He had another experience when he was 40 and 50. And then when he's 75, he entered into covenant with God. And he had a whole different kind of experience. And he was tested by God and tested in very difficult ways. It wasn't, all ice cream and cherries and everything was happy. He went and then immediately he's confronted with a famine. It's a whole different, something that may not have been, he wasn't ready to stand that test when he was necessarily 20. And the experience of growth, and I think this is one of the biggest challenges we have, especially when we've left our formal schooling years, to continue to deepen, to continue to connect, to continue to find new ways. I had a friend who every year, over the last, again, I don't know if he's still doing it, but he told me that every year he would buy a new siddur with a new font, with a new commentary, with something so that he would look at the parsha, he would look at tefillah, he would daven every Shabbat a little bit differently. It had a new look to it. It gave him a chidush, it gave him a renewal, and it challenged him. Some people, every year when they read the Torah, they read a new commentary. Last year I read Ramban from beginning to end, or selected Rambans. This year I'm going to read selected Rabbi Hirsch, selected Jonathan Sachs, selected Rav Soloveitchik, selected Nitziv, whatever it is, that I'm going to try to deepen and look at it. And this, of course, is a challenge to all of us, and I definitely encourage everyone to find those ways to deepen and challenge ourselves, make our relationship more sophisticated, look for new ways to experience our relationship to God, our relationship to Torah. Take a shiur, read another book, buy another book, listen to a shiur online, a new angle, a new perspective, a different perspective, a literary perspective, a historical perspective, a Hasidic perspective, whatever it is, that our relationship, our emunah, our Judaism doesn't remain at a 3-year-old level or a 3rd grade level or a 12th grade level, but it continues to deepen, expand, and it continues to grow in all kinds of ways. I think that's part of what Abraham, Father Abraham, Avraham Avinu, our first lodestar, the one who we are B'nai Avraham Avinu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, so to speak, laid down for us in how he's read in the Tanakh and by Chazal, and it's something that I think we can grow with as we continue. Wish everybody a great Shabbat Shalom. Please remember that Motzei Shabbat, we turn the clock back. You fall back and you get an extra hour of sleep. Again, everyone should be well and have a great Shabbat. If I can see you in person at Shul, that'd be great. And if those who are not able to, again, want to wish everybody a Shabbat Shalom. Bye-bye.